Today's puzzle is a mate in 3, but it is a little bit trickier than it looks at first sight. So first things first, we are down a rook in the starting position and our knight is also hanging. When we're down as much material as a rook, of course we always want to look at the enemy king first. Where is it? It is a little bit vulnerable. We have a rook looking down here. Most importantly, of course, we have a queen that's very, very close to the enemy king. And we have a knight that could jump in with some checks. Speaking of checks, of course, in general, we want to start by looking for checks. There's a couple that we can rule out, like knight e2 or queen b2, but there are 3 checks that are very tempting, starting, I would say, with queen a1. Queen a1 is a huge blunder, actually, because after knight b2, suddenly the white king is actually safe, and here we have no way forward. We're completely busted. Computer gives almost +6 for white. So allowing that knight to retreat is not going to help. Now, what about the other queen check, queen a3? That is a check that I would recommend looking at because the king has to step to b3, and here there is actually one way to save a draw, but nothing more. Knight d3 is a very nice move, threatening mate on b2. Now if white takes, we take on b3, and this is a perpetual. The king can never escape because here it gets checkmated, but if the king just goes back, this will be a draw by repetition. In this position here, if instead of taking the knight, if white goes knight c4, both defending the mate and attacking the queen, we once again have a perpetual. After rook takes and after king a1, we have nothing better than to repeat the moves here. So queen a3, tempting, but only leads to a draw. And the final check that I think is interesting to look at is knight d3. Now here, once again, white doesn't have a choice. They have to capture. And the problem is that, once again, we have nothing more than a draw after queen check. If the king steps to b1, the easiest way to make a draw is to take once again. We've already seen this position. So all 3 checks are tempting in a sense, but one of them is losing, and the other 2 only lead to a draw. So next up, we want to look at, do we have any good captures? Not really. Rook takes b3 doesn't lead anywhere. Once again, white can recapture with the knight. The king now has an escape square. We're running out of attacking pieces, and this position is winning for white. So we've looked at checks, we've looked at captures, and now we want to look